Mr. Speaker, enormous deficit spending by this Prime Minister caused the Bank of Canada to hike its interest rates for the 7th consecutive time this year. An average mortgage will cost Canadians an extra $7,000 in interest payments alone. This Prime Minister's reckless spending has already driven up the costs on gas and groceries, and his failed energy policies will make home heating costs double. He'll further pile-drive Canadians financially when his failed carbon tax increases this year. Why won't the Prime Minister stop his wasteful inflationary spending, axe the failed carbon tax so Canadians can keep the heat on this winter and food on the table?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives are nothing if not at least consistent. They continue to ask us to stop being there to support Canadians. They oppose the child care agreements that we signed with the provinces, child care agreements that we're enshrining into law with legislation we're bringing in today. They oppose the dental support for low-income Canadians to make sure that kids have the best start in life possible. They oppose the rental supports that we move forward to deliver for Canadians. They stood against the kinds of supports we were flowing to Canadians through the dark times of the pandemic. We will continue to be there for Canadians and remain fiscally responsible, because that's what Canadians expect.
Well, member for Calgary, Forest Lawn.
Mr. Speaker, it's easier for this Prime Minister to sit in his ivory tower and blame everyone else and spend even more of Canadians' money to cover his own inflationary mess. His inflation tax is going to cost Canadians an extra $3,500, according to the Governor of the Bank of Canada. He is the architect of sending 1.5 million Canadians into a food bank, 500,000 of which were children. He's responsible for 1 in 5 Canadians skipping meals. He keeps failing, and Canadians continue to be on the hook for it. When will he understand Canadians can't afford any more of his failures and just want to eat and heat their homes?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, the Conservatives say they stand with Canadians, and then they stand in opposition to measures that ensure that Canadians can send their kids to the dentist. Then they stand in opposition to measures that will give families who pay a large amount of their low incomes on rent to get an extra bit of help. Then they stand against and continue to stand against child care fees that have been cut in half across the country, that is not only giving opportunities for kids to get the best start in life, not only supporting parents when the cost of living and payments are so high, but at the same time ensuring that our economy grows as people participate fully in our growth.
Hear, hear.
Member for Kelowna Lake Country.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister continues to keep his head in the sand when it comes to people's home heating bills. You know, someone from my community reached out to me recently saying that they had to make the tough decision whether to pay for their Fortis home heating bill or to buy groceries. Wow. He chose to heat his home even though the bill went from $46 a month to $163 a month. And he said that now he has to go to a food bank just to feed himself. The same food bank that he used to donate to. So why is the Prime Minister tripling down on increasing carbon taxes for everyday Canadians who can't even heat their homes now?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I've heard from Canadians right across the country that they are facing difficult times. We know how important it is to be there for Canadians, which is exactly what we are doing as a government, despite Conservative politicians opposing that. We're there with dental supports. We're there with rental supports. We're there with cutting childcare fees in half. I was just in the Honourable Member's province a few days ago to make an announcement on the fact that childcare fees have been cut in half, saving families hundreds, even thousands of dollars a month. We will continue to stand with Canadians despite Conservative opposition.
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Member for Chicoutimi-Le-Fior. Mr. Speaker, Canadians woke up yesterday morning with news that borders on nightmarish. The Bank of Canada announced an rate increase, the 7th of the year, thanks to the Liberals and their inflationary spending. For a family with an average mortgage, that's $7,000 more in interest per year, and their house isn't even heated yet. We know that the carbon tax applies to home heating. Will the Prime Minister cancel this tax so that Canadians don't get cold in their own homes this winter? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we are all concerned about the rising cost of living for Canadians. But on this side of the chamber, we are delivering assistance to Canadians. The Conservatives can continue to oppose it. We have come forth with dental supports, rental supports. We are providing more affordable daycare spaces across the country. We will continue to be there for people, despite the fact that the Conservative Party continues to vote against all of our measures to help people. The Honourable Member for Chicoutimi-Lafiore. It's quite ironic that Liberals say they understand the misery of Canadians when they allow themselves to give $32 billion in benefits to dead people and prisoners. What we should understand is that in Canada, we face winter temperatures that can drop to -45. Record cold temperatures are expected. It's not a luxury to keep warm in Canada in the winter. Can the Prime Minister make a commitment to do the only honourable thing he can and cancel his carbon tax so that Canadians can heat their homes?
Le très honorable Premier Ministre.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, it's incredible to see Conservatives attack the assistance that we give Canadians. He just made fun of the emergency benefit we provided during the pandemic. It provided direct assistance to Canadians, to businesses, to Quebecers, to Canadians across the country. It was essential not only to make it through the pandemic, but also to ensure that our economy would rebound quickly. We were there for Canadians despite the position of the Conservatives and will continue to be there to support people. The Honourable Member for La Prairie. In the government's contract with Sinclair Technologies, which is partly owned by Chinese interests accused of espionage, is a very concerning example. We know that the government is cancelling it, but the government awarded a contract to a company owned by a Chinese government, providing them with access to the RCMP secret frequencies. It's a filtering system that ensures the confidentiality of communications of the Prime Minister and foreign heads of state visiting Canada, and no one thought it was necessary to do any security checks. How can the Prime Minister explain that? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we are always watching out for hostile actors. We are very concerned by this contract with Sinclair Technologies, and the government will be taking all the necessary steps to ensure the integrity of national security and to put in place measures to ensure that nothing happens like this again in the future. The Honourable Member for La Prairie. Well, with respect to measures, the government has a Crown corporation whose mandate is to monitor telecommunications security, the CSE, the Communications Security Establishment. But imagine this, no one saw fit to call upon the expertise of the CSE to assess the national security risks associated with the contract that gives access to RCMP's secret frequencies to a company accused of spying in the U.S. Mr. Speaker, no one in the government thought it was necessary to ask the CSE to do an investigation. How can he explain that? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, as I said yesterday, we're very concerned by the situation, and that is why we asked the Minister and officials to follow up on two aspects. First of all, what we have to do to ensure the integrity of our secure communications network now, and how can we improve the situation, the system rather, so that no problems like this recur in the future. The Honourable Member for Rosemont-la-Petite-Patrie. While sick children suffer and our pediatric hospitals are overflowing, the Prime Minister is simply trying to fade away into the background. Worried parents are filling waiting rooms with their little ones, and the Prime Minister isn't there. We're looking for him everywhere. This isn't time to play Where's Waldo? At Saint-Justine Hospital in Montreal, at the Centre Mère Hospital in Quebec City, the crisis is unprecedented. Our public health care system needs help. There's nothing more frightening for a parent than to have a sick child. Why is the health of our children not the priority of this Prime Minister?
Le très honorable Premier Ministre.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, as a parent, I fully understand the concerns of families with respect to pediatric care. We are determined to ensure that all families have access to essential services and medication their children need. We will continue to work hand in hand with the provinces and territories to improve healthcare services and to achieve results for Canadians. People know that we need to see improvements in our healthcare systems, and the federal government will be there to ensure that the provinces deliver the results for families and children.
Member for Vancouver Kingsway.
Well, the federal government is not present. That's the problem, Mr. Speaker. Ontario hospitals are so overwhelmed with sick kids that they're calling in the Red Cross. Staff at the Alberta Children's Hospital are worried a child might die waiting for care because they're overrun with patients. Across Canada, the situation is dire and parents are horrified. But Liberals are missing in action and Conservative premiers are moving to privatize healthcare. Canadians expect leadership from their Prime Minister in a time of crisis. When will he call an urgent meeting with the premiers so that our children get the care they need and deserve?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we will always defend our public health care system. We believe that all you should need to get health care in Canada is a health card, not a credit card. That's why we're making sure that in our discussions with the provinces, as we floor more money than ever before into the health care systems, we're asking for better outcomes. We're asking for concrete results. We're making sure that Canadians get the health care they need. We know the system is failing far too many Canadians right across the country. We will be there to ensure there are significant improvements.
The Honourable Member.